Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everyone out there is doing absolutely fantastic and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to follow me on social media. There are links in the description below the video. Very big thank you to everyone who likes the videos daily. You help out the channel a lot. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So this typically, I'll explain this one beforehand. Normally around bull runs, bull markets within the cryptocurrency space, there tends to be like almost like a Tarzan-esque beating of the chest, like that kind of thing. As prices go up, the market looks stronger, we get to new all-time highs, that kind of thing. So sprinkled across a few other videos, not many, a few other previous videos, we had some cryptocurrency creators of the projects, talking more openly about how amazing and awesome and fantastic their product is compared to other cryptocurrencies and projects and foundations out there. I feel like this one was made to ruffle feathers. I legitimately feel like this was done on purpose just to kind of like get people to kind of rally behind all of this, because this one gets quite intense. It almost feels like the olden days in like a sort of way. For those of you who do not know, crypto, 4, 5, 6 years ago and longer, was very tribal. Like not a smidge. Like everyone in the space was like, my coin is the only coin that should exist. Every other coin is garbage. No other. And I'm glad that we have formed more of a cryptocurrency community, but we're still not quite there. So, as you might have imagined, this was and probably will be for a while incredibly popular news. Ripple co-founder of Ripple, his name is Chris Larsen, has stated that XRP was designed as a faster, greener Bitcoin alternative built on stability and long-term vision. I'm gonna get back to that. Just give me half a second. Larsen critiques rival token strategies and praised XRP's loyal community while hinting at ETF-driven bullish potential in XRP's future. Oh boy. The top part is completely true and can't really be disputed. I'm going to try and give this to you as best I can because it's a bit of a smorgasbord of like things going on there. Bitcoin we are told that Bitcoin was designed in 2008, was publicly released in 2009/2010, depending on when you look at when Satoshi gave this to that and so on. We're allowing other people to be able to mine. Gotcha, sure. I've seen rumors and paperwork and discussions on the Twitter that apparently XRP was in the works in 2004. That doesn't seem unbelievable. And I know someone's crossing their arms, uncross them. It's mainly because in the 90s, there were a group of people who made something called DigiCash. There were multiple iterations of Bitcoin before Bitcoin, but no one could figure out how to make it decentralized. That was always the problem. DigiCash was then followed by what we now know as PayPal. The original, vision for PayPal was meant to be something Bitcoin-esque. It was meant to be money that existed on the internet that anyone could use. The problem is that after, I think, half a year or a year of the original version of PayPal being around, the government shut it down. Like, instantaneously, it was gone. And then eBay started, and they were looking for some kind of like a payment processor that was working online. And this is when they, this is how the story goes. And then they joined forces, and, you know, the rest is literally history. So XRP was designed to be faster than Bitcoin. And that was mainly because Bitcoin currently only has 3 to 5 transactions per second. As far as I can remember, XRP, I think, is 500 or 1,000, maybe 1,500. That one also sounds relatively familiar. The greener part is a little bit nonsense because people were not having green discussions about Bitcoin until 2018. After Bitcoin's price went to 20,000, it became a thing of politicians to talk negatively about Bitcoin. And one of the things that they kept on saying was, Bitcoin's not green. Bitcoin uses electricity. You've seen the articles. Bitcoin uses as much electricity as Bolivia. Bitcoin uses as much like those kinds of things, when no one talks about that AI uses about like 50 times more electricity like per thing that you're actually doing. But no, all the companies love AI. So of course they're not going to talk negatively about their digital babies. The idea of stability and long-term vision is also true. Bitcoin was made as an experiment that actually ended up working out. But a lot of the other cryptocurrencies that came years after Bitcoin were like, okay, we need to make a business plan. Bitcoin was never a business plan. It was meant to be a currency for the people, literally mined by the people. Cardano, Ethereum, XRP, you name it, were in essence created as not companies, but they were like, there's a reason why the Ethereum Foundation like set up shop in Switzerland and got all their paperwork done in Switzerland. It took a year to launch because they were dealing with US regulators in the SEC while they were in Switzerland. Like, there's all these things that they all went through that Bitcoin did not have to go through. So there was a long-term vision of, you know, essentially money making. Right now, at the time of me making this video, because something seems to change every 4.5 minutes, there was news recently that apparently the lawsuit of the SEC versus Ripple is over. So that sounds confusing because 2 months ago, we also got news that it was over. But apparently now it's over. So basically, there was the lawsuit from the SEC against Ripple back in 2019. They both announced at the beginning of this year that they were going to let the lawsuit go and Ripple would no longer have to pay, I think it was $3 billion. I'm pretty sure it was $3 billion with a B in fines. That got lowered to, I think, 150 million. And then they came to the conclusion that both parties wanted to settle, I believe, for just 50 million or something like that. And they would drop all other things. And then the Judge Torres, who was running the entire thing, didn't allow them to like counteract or go backwards and kind of like join hands. And she said something like, no, the law is the law, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing here. So then Ripple and the SEC came together and said that they're not going to try and go backwards and lower the amount, that Ripple is simply just going to pay the higher amount, I think 150 million, and just be done with it. Because if both parties say Apple and Apple, and the judge is like bananas, then, you know, we're going to have a big problem. So when that happened, Garlinghouse went back onto Twitter. This is all recently. Went back onto Twitter and re-announced that any additional thing that might be is going to disappear. They're just going to pay the fees. The SEC is going to drop everything and it's going to be completely over. The idea of the ETF-driven bullish potential for XRP comes from the rumors that we've been hearing since the beginning of this year, that when the entirety of the XRP lawsuit is completely finished, that is when we would see BlackRock announcing that they're going to be launching or filing paperwork for Wink. You know they're going to get it. Their own XRP ETF. So July throws us into this like digital rocket ship. I don't know where we are. And basically we're waiting this month for already the other XRP ETFs that have been filed to be pushed either yay or nay. July is going to be a big month regardless. The other part is people are waiting to see if we hear news from BlackRock, Fidelity, and a bunch of other companies who also then want to launch their own XRP ETF, which is probably going to happen because we've had a lot of like looking into the camera and like winking kind of moments from the people from Ripple over the last 4 months, being like, well, you know, we're working with a lot of institutions who plan on using and buying XRP when the lawsuit is over. So it's kind of, I don't want to say confirmed, but you understand. Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen recently shed light on ZERP's origins during an episode of the When Shift Happens podcast, revealing that it was created with the vision of being a better version of Bitcoin. Larsen said he worked with a group of really, really smart people to build a digital currency that was faster, more efficient, and less energy consuming than Bitcoin. That a lot of that, the whole energy thing was not a discussion until politicians said it was something. I think it just so happened to turn out that as technology advances, every other crypto that came after kind of like just built a little bit better. So they knew, okay, we can take that out, we can add that in. So every other coin after was going to be faster and essentially greener, if you will, than Bitcoin. While he praised Bitcoin's conservative foundation, he felt XRP, the fourth largest crypto, could improve upon its limitations without sacrificing its core values. Larsen didn't shy away from criticizing rival projects that lack consistency, oh boy, without directly naming it. He took a swipe at Stellar. Stellar is a coin that branched off of XRP. So Ethereum is a branch off of Bitcoin. The people who worked on Bitcoin left and they created Ethereum. A lot of people who were working on, some of the people who were working on Ethereum, they went to go make Cardano, and some of them also went back to other Bitcoin-esque kind of projects. XRP came from the people, some of the people who were also earliestly is not a word, working on Bitcoin. They left the project. They created XRP. They gifted XRP to the people from Ripple. Then they created Stellar Lumens as a branch off of XRP. The original design or image for XRP was meant to be a coin that would be used by banks. Years ago, people had a big problem with this, the originals, because Bitcoin is meant to be anti-bank. So whenever you hear me say, like, it's a little weird that all these companies and banks and corporations are buying Bitcoin, it's because Bitcoin is meant to be the literal opposite of what they stand for. XRP arrived, and that was the main focal point for Bitcoin maximalists. We're trying to get away from banks. Why are they working with banks? So a lot of people were taught to hate Ripple and XRP. What they don't know and don't really realize is that these people knew that crypto was going to be big. They knew that at some point fiat was going to collapse. They knew that the money was too big to ignore. So companies, corporations, and banks were going to get into crypto. So they created a coin that basically would be able to be used by these companies and institutions. The first people who were asking for rules and regulations in the crypto market were the Winklevoss twins and the people from Ripple, because they understood that nothing can move forward unless these mega corporations actually know that they're legally able to get into it, how much they're going to be taxed, and what the other laws surrounding these things are. Then Stellar was released, and Stellar was meant to be like the better version of XRP, but the problem is that it wasn't. No one asked for it, no one wanted it, and they kept on trying to like promote it as if it was some really awesome, amazing thing that fell from the heavens and that everyone had to use. And then eventually when Ripple and XRP got all the attention, that's when things started getting a little weird in 2018, 2019. Without directly naming it, he took a swipe at Stellar, co-founded by former Ripple executive Jed McCaleb, who famously burned over half of all the Stellar lumens in 2019. This was really weird because I screamed shenanigans. I was like, something's wrong. This is a red flag. Something's wrong with that project. You know how like XRP has a coin burn. So as you use XRP, behind the scenes, like a small amount of XRP is burned. The idea being, if you have banks, central banks, and millions of people using this, the amount of XRP will eventually outpace everything, and therefore less XRP, more price. Cardano has a coin burn. Same similar idea. Shiba Inu has one. Ethereum has a coin burn. The more you use Ethereum, the more Ethereum gets burned. So Ethereum, by usage design, is deflationary comparative to the amount of Ether that actually ends up being made by the network. Stellar Lumens, the people from Stellar got on stage in 2019, and they were like, we have the best project in the entire world. So effective immediately, we're going to burn half the supply. My dear friends, if a project is decentralized, you cannot burn half of its supply. Imagine someone, Samson Mao used to work for Blockstream. Imagine Samson Mao stands on stage and goes, you know what? We want Bitcoin's price to go higher. Effective immediately, we're burning half of all the Bitcoin. You would go, how the fudge did you do that? Imagine Charles Hoskinson standing on stage and go, you know this decentralized thing that we have? No, we don't care anymore. We're going to burn half of all the Cardano. They stood on stage and announced, and this was out of desperation, because they knew that nobody wanted the project, nobody was using the project, and to make it essentially more attractive to investors and people, you know what, this gigantic coin supply, we're going to burn half of it. And that's when everyone realized that it wasn't actually decentralized like they had been claiming for a while. He described such moves as chaotic. What? Really? How? Wait, they burned half their supply. How could that be chaotic? Because imagine them, no one uses the project. Imagine them announcing in 2026, we're going to do it again. Another, what are you talking about? What in the, they could have literally made a protocol. They could have made two protocols. One that activated a larger burn mechanism as the transactions are happening, and also one for staking to incentivize people to lock up their lumens so that they will receive some type of no, let's just burn half of it. He described such moves as chaotic, arguing that constant changes, airdrops, and burn events make a project look unstable, because it's true. According to Larson, successful currencies are built on predictability, not impulsive shifts in direction. He kind of goes on, as you might have imagined, and basically sheds a lot of praise on XRP, talking about how amazing it is. He talks about a lot of other projects, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if they're really going to make it. He puts XRP on a pedestal comparative to Bitcoin. There have been, and this always happens during a bull run, there have been a lot more rumblings in the news about people talking about XRP is going to be the number 2 coin. XRP is on its way to the number 1 coin. Like all these, it's happening a lot more as of late. So as you might have imagined, this made incredibly popular news. Does anyone think that XRP is better than Bitcoin? Do you think Bitcoin is better than XRP? There are a lot of people who think that Bitcoin might not always be the #1 coin. Ethereum has a lot of question marks, regardless of the fact that it is the most used chain that we have on the planet at the moment. But yeah, I think the next couple of months, if things continue the way that they are going to shake up the market quite a bit. As July moves forward and we start getting more news about these ETFs, I think we're going to see some good indications of where the cryptocurrency market is going to be going. That's the XRP is a better version of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Tron, Stellar Lumens, and every other coin this man talked about. And yeah, let's move on. This is one of those things that I think we were supposed to care about, and it's mainly because of the corporatization of it all. Governments and companies are, for some reason, when I say salivating, it's not a joke. This isn't like they are obsessed right now with the idea of stablecoins. It is actually like sickening how like constantly that it's in the news. The generalized idea that we are constantly fed is that it's going to be a new, cheaper, cleaner, more efficient, blah, 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 blah way for me and you to be able to transact on different platforms. The problem is that it's already pretty convenient to transact on different platforms. If you're ordering food, if you're buying something online, if you go to a store, if you tap or swipe or insert your card, the payment takes maybe 3, maybe 7 seconds. This idea of stable coins comes out as like, well, we can lower fees and we can do this and we can do so and so. Well, the people who are already doing these things, you could already lower the fees, but you're choosing not to. Every company wants their own version of the US dollar, and things were a lot better when it was just Tether. But Tether transacts trillions of dollars worth of value every single year through their chain. So, of course, companies were going to announce that they also want a piece of that digital pie. Every time these news stories come out, I feel like they want us to like stand up and cheer. But okay. In the news today, U.S. retail powerhouses, Walmart and Amazon, are reportedly, weighing the launch of their own dollar-pegged stable coins. The issue is, my gosh, it's one thing for everyone in a country to use the US dollar. Everyone in a continent to use the euro. Everyone to use the yen. Got it. If every company begins to make their own stable coin, it's going to become unstable to actually make payments on these actual platforms. How do we know this? Because banks years ago all tried to make their own stable coins, and then wouldn't you know it, they were all uninteroperable. They didn't work together. They were on private chains or on separate chains. So if every company, because we're also getting rumors about Uber, there was one for Lyft, and I think 2 other companies also announced recently. Let us not forget, Facebook also just re-announced about 2 weeks ago that Facebook is trying to make another stablecoin. It's exhausting. Per a Wall Street Journal report, the companies are said to be exploring how a stablecoin launch and integration could help streamline payment systems, significantly cut processing fees, and reduce reliance on the traditional banking infrastructure. You know what also reduces reliance on the banking infrastructure? If you use XRP, if they used Bitcoin. The answer is always there. If you used the other systems that already exist, you could streamline it quite easily. You don't have to build anything new. The infrastructure is already there. You could even help. You could even build out XRP's ledger, and you could build out the Lightning Network. You could help build out Polygon. But no, something more sinister always lies beneath, because they want their own chain. It has nothing to do with cutting processing fees for you. It has to do with cutting fees for them, as their systems run through Visa and MasterCard. If you can get through all of that and make your own chain and say, well, everyone can just use this. This is why you keep hearing about stable coins. And like, remember, stable coins are CBDCs with a different name. They're still controlled. They're still centralized. They're run by one individual entity. It is about control over where you spend your money and where the money is going. By issuing their own tokens, both firms could shift massive volumes of daily transactions onto a blockchain, offering more efficient payment flows. Citing sources familiar with the matter, the report also noted that other major players, including Expedia and a number of airlines, are considering similar stablecoin initiatives. We are living in the weirdest timeline by far. This was, as you might have imagined, extremely popular news. It says Apple, Twitter, and Google as well. That was like, remember when we kept on hearing about the whole Twitter payments thing, and I was telling people, I was like, this has nothing to do with like making you richer or making payments easier. It's to make the people who own these companies richer and to put more money into their pockets. The issue is that this is all going to fall apart unless there's some kind of cohesion behind the scenes that we are not aware of. If all these companies decide to build and create stable coins on permissionless chains, decentralized chains, this will work out because they will be interoperable. And then at that point, it's easier to move your stuff over. If everyone builds on top of Ether, if everyone builds on top of Polygon, it'll be more, the word again is just cohesive. Like, we'd be able to use all these chains at once. You would only have to download one application and one kind of usage. You'd be able to go between all the different companies at once. But we all know that's not going to happen. So yes, this was very popular news. I don't know what we were supposed to get from this. But yeah, this is going to happen, as these people have basically realized there's another way to cut corners by essentially cutting out other companies completely from the equation. But it's going to be a mess because greed is involved. So normal levels of greed tells you to have a huge conversation with all these other companies and say, cool, we're all going to build our coins on these 3, 4, 5 different blockchains. Got it. It'll be interoperable. Illogical greed says that they're all going to be building their own private chains or have something else that will, of course, not be on anything decentralized. And you're going to have to download multiple apps and applications and have different cards and have different systems and have different this and have that on your phone to be able to use any of these things. But also, stable coins are garbage. Like, they're literally a digital version of the thing we're trying to get away from. So, you know, there's that. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting on the video, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.